Hello and welcome back to another episode of What If on HITC Football, where we look at how the footballing world could have changed if some key moments had gone differently. Today, we're going to be talking about the man of the hour, Erling Haaland. The Norwegian striker is making the Premier League his plaything at the moment. He's scored 15 goals in his first 9 games, and people are already talking about him breaking Alan Shearer's all-time scoring record. Whether or not Haaland does break that record remains to be seen, but it looks as though he's going to utterly dominate English football during his stay here, and it wouldn't surprise us one bit if Manchester City won every single trophy available to them during this time. However, Haaland very nearly ended up on the other side of Manchester. Cast your mind back to late 2019 and you'll remember that there was a mad scramble for the striker's signature, and Manchester United were amongst the frontrunners in this race. Aided by the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knew the striker well from their time together at Molde, United very nearly signed Haaland, but a deal couldn't quite be agreed due to the fact that the Red Devils didn't want to insert a release clause and didn't want to include a sell-on fee. United quite evidently missed out on one of the world's best footballers here, but what if they had signed Haaland in January 2020? If Haaland joins United at that point, we actually don't think too much would have changed for the Red Devils. Well, at least not immediately. In 2019-20, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side would have finished third, but even if Haaland came in and scored a hat-trick in every single game from January onwards, that likely wouldn't have been enough to move United up the table. After all, they only dropped 10 points post-January that year, and they still finished 15 points behind Manchester City. So the instant impact of Haaland isn't felt that much. However, next season is where things get really interesting. In 2020-21, Manchester United would finish just 12 points off the top of the table, and the thing that cost them that season was actually their failure in front of goal. United fans were made to endure no fewer than 7 0-0 draws that season, and a further 2 1-alls. And if Haaland could have turned the tide in just 6 of those games, including the draw against City at Old Trafford, then United would have been champions. Of course, scoring in that many games is a lot easier said than done, but this is Erling Haaland we're talking about here. He's averaged more than a goal a game over the past 4 seasons, so this is not only not out of the question, it's actually very likely. So with Haaland up front, Manchester United are the 2020-21 Premier League champions, which likely buys Solskjaer a lot more time at Old Trafford. But we're afraid that's where the Haaland party may have to stop for the Red Devils. As we mentioned earlier, the only way that Solskjaer's side could have signed Haaland at that point was if they included a release clause in his contract, and after winning the Premier League with United, another transfer could have been on the cards. In our reality, Real Madrid would bid £170 million for Kylian Mbappe that summer, but after Haaland's proven himself in the Premier League for United, we think those funds would likely have been used to bring him to the Bernabeu. It was reported just this week that Haaland's current release clause at Man City sits at around £175 million, so we have to imagine that United may have been in line for a similar sort of pay packet. If United were to sell Haaland for that much, that would give them a huge sum to go out and spend on a replacement, but one player they likely wouldn't have been signing is Harry Kane. Yes, if Haaland had gone to Manchester United, we have to feel that City would have gone all out to sign Harry Kane. City were of course desperate to sign Kane at one point, and after his famous interview with Gary Neville, it was clear that the Tottenham striker was open to a move. In our reality, City did bid £100 million for the striker, but they didn't go any higher than that, perhaps due to the fact they knew Haaland would be available in 2022, but in this reality, Haaland is out of the picture for City, so you have to imagine that they would push harder for Kane and eventually land their man. Kane joining City would likely have led to Spurs pulling the trigger to sign Lautaro Martinez that summer, as Fabio Paratici continued to raid Serie A and work towards his ultimate goal of getting Antonio Conte to North London. So with Kane going to City and Martinez going to Tottenham, where does that leave Manchester United in their hunt for a Haaland replacement at that point? Well, just like in our reality, we think that the Red Devils would go out and sign Cristiano Ronaldo. At that point, this was still the most blockbuster signing a club could make, and while he's declined since, in 2021 he was still looking like a truly world-class player. Ronaldo did only cost United around £15 million at that point, so that would leave United with an extra £160 million to spend that summer had they sold Haaland. The Glazer family would surely have pocketed their fair share of that cash, but there likely would have been enough money in the kitty for one more big signing. United's biggest problem at that point was undoubtedly in the heart of the midfield, where Fred and Scott McTominay were regularly starting. But with an extra £160 million in the bank, we think that Man U would have gone out and signed Declan Rice that summer. David Moyes did say that the England international was available for £100 million that summer, and while that may represent an over-the-odds payment, United are no strangers to overspending on English players. We're looking at you, Harry Maguire. Let's go back to Haaland for a minute. It goes without saying just how successful the striker could have been in Madrid. He'd probably break every record that Cristiano Ronaldo set at that club, but there would be one huge change if he headed to the Bernabeu at this time. If Haaland is signing for in excess of £170 million, then Karim Benzema would surely fall down the pecking order at the Bernabeu, and that would likely mean that Madrid do not win the 2022 Champions League. Let's not forget, it was 3 late goals from Benzema against PSG, Chelsea and Man City that got Madrid into the final that year, and if the Frenchman isn't on the pitch to score those goals, Madrid are likely eliminated a lot earlier. Yes, Haaland could have stepped up and scored those goals in a similar fashion, but the one thing we're yet to see from Haaland is how he copes with those big moments in the dying minutes of a huge Champions League game, while Benzema has made a career out of those types of moments, winning no fewer than 5 Champions League trophies. Therefore, in this reality, Liverpool faced Manchester City in a final that really could have gone either way, but given the way City wilted in the semi-finals in our reality, we're backing Liverpool to win this one. As for the other runners and riders in this story, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would probably still be in a job to this day if he had Declan Rice in his midfield and a Premier League title on his CV. Solskjaer staying at United would likely have meant that Erik ten Hag would have been going to PSG as Mauricio Pochettino's replacement, as it was reported that PSG did actually make an approach for ten Hag this summer before going out and getting Christophe Galtier. So there you have it. If Haaland signs for United in January 2020, he elevates them to the necessary level to win the Premier League title in 2020-21. Unfortunately for the Red Devils, his form would likely have led to his release clause being triggered by Real Madrid, leading to the signings of Ronaldo and Rice by the Red Devils. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Harry Kane ends up at Manchester City, as Pep Guardiola's side don't have the option to put some of their eggs in the Haaland basket. On the managerial front, Solskjaer remains at Old Trafford and Ten Hag heads to PSG from Ajax. Thinking about how the Haaland saga could have gone differently is a very interesting thread to pull at, and there are a few more avenues that we haven't actually explored today. Questions such as, would Borussia Dortmund have sold Jadon Sancho to Manchester United if they'd never got hold of Haaland? What do West Ham do if they receive £100 million for Declan Rice that summer? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Let us know which what if you want us to look at next, and as always, like and subscribe for more football content, and I'll see you next time.